and welcome to another video. So if you've been on my channel for any time at all, you are probably thinking to yourself, Cielo, what are you doing? What is this? And the answer to that question is whatever I want. um, and I'm starting another bullet journal. I really was missing the bullet journal, and I love the Hobonichi, but this month with the readathon I've been doing a ton of work in my reading journal, which is really like a bullet journal, but only for my reading, and I really love working in it, and I miss setting up pages, and I really like the Late term? I don't know how to pronounce it. And I didn't think I would ever use one of these notebooks because even though I know they're super popular in the bullet journaling community, the paper is pretty thin and there's a lot of ghosting on the backs, and I used to hate that. I did not want to see the writing from the previous page on the next page at all. I thought it was disgusting. But after using the Hobonichi for several months, which has even thinner pages, I got really used to the ghosting and actually find that I don't mind it at all now. And not only do I not mind it, but I think it's worse to go in the opposite direction. So like this notebook that I started 2019 with had like 120 GSM paper, and that was way too thick. It didn't allow me to flip easily, and that's part of why I stopped using that journal. I grew to hate the paper. And the late term, one of the reasons I actually, like, the only thing I liked about it when I used to hate it was that it had lots of pages, and I hate migrating journals as frequently as I used to. The last time I was bullet journaling, a journal would last me 3, maybe 4 months, and then I'd have to migrate again, and I hated that. But the late term has 251 pages now, and that's a lot of pages. And I've changed my whole approach to bullet journaling, and I feel like I can make this journal last longer, which is why I feel like it could be fun. And I don't know, I just like bullet journaling. It's like a comfort food. When I'm uncertain or uncomfortable in my current planning setup, I like going back to the bullet journal. And so I'm going to start this one again for truly no other reason than that I want to. My current system, like, it was working just fine. I'm in a slow point of like stuff, like I don't have a lot of things to do, but that's not the fault of the planner in any particular way. So I could have kept the system exactly as I had it, but I missed my bullet journal, and so I decided to start another one. As you can see, I went with the yellow lace term A5, and that was also surprising. I've never gone with yellow. Yellow has never been a color that I particularly enjoy. But I found that when I was thinking about what I wanted for my bullet journal, I wanted like a really nice bright color. And so I got this yellow. And I was initially a little disappointed because it's a slightly darker than it appears on my computer screen when I ordered it from Amazon. But it's still a nice color, and so it works out well, and I'm definitely going to get good use out of it. And as I've been talking here, you can see me start setting up the first page where I knew I wanted to put a like quote of some kind. I wanted to do a bit of hand lettering to kind of introduce the notebook. And since the page on the left-hand side is not dotted, it wouldn't have made sense for me to do like a full 2-page spread kind of thing on here. So I needed something that only needed 1 page, and an introductory quote is a good thing to like use. And so one of the things that I am doing with the old journal that I started in January is now I'm using it to sketch out ideas. So I actually drew this quote out in that journal first, and then I just ripped that page out and put it under here so that I could trace it and have an idea of where I wanted everything to be. And for every spread that I set up in this journal, I actually have sketched it out in the other journal first and scratch things out, move things around, put tape down to like test out different washi tapes that I want to decorate with. Just a lot of experimentation in that journal, and then by the time I get to this journal, things are exactly as I want them. And I actually really like that idea, and I think I'm going to do that a lot moving forward because it was really helpful, and it didn't take up actual pages in my bullet journal, and it didn't have to be a nice notebook. Like the notebook I got and the one that I used at the beginning of the year was like $15, but I know that Michaels and Walmart sells dot grid notebooks for like $5, and something like that just to sketch in before going to like your nicer bullet journal, I think is a good thing to have around. And so I'm glad not only that I had that journal hanging around, but also that I have a use for it and it's not just going to keep sitting around. I can actually use it for something, even if it's not what I originally thought I would use it for when I first bought it. So the quote that I settled on for the beginning of this notebook says, "Don't panic." And that's actually a reference to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I was listening to the audiobook of for the past couple of weeks on and off, and I finished it shortly before I started this bullet journal. And I knew that I wanted the quote to have something to do with, like, I don't know, planning and or goal setting or something like that. And I thought that "Don't Panic" was fun because, one, I really enjoyed The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the title of the book is in reference to an actual like document in the world called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and on the front of it, like the first thing you see is the words "Don't panic." That's like how this guide starts with, is by telling you not to panic. And I thought that that was also applicable advice for something like a bullet journal where you will be planning out, you know, different things, and if things are hectic, then "Don't panic" is a good reminder to have at hand. And because this was inspired by The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I decided for my early bullet journal setup spreads to follow that like galaxy theme. And so here I'm coloring it in with a dark navy blue Crayola Super Tip marker because I started to look through my washi tapes for some accent colors, and later you'll see that I pull in a galaxy washi tape from Simply Gilded, and I pulled from that washi tape and the colors in that pattern Crayola Super Tip markers that I had that I thought matched well, and themed the whole setup from those colors. The setup actually isn't long. It's like 4 pages, I think, that I do because I wanted to simplify the bullet journal, but still, those 4 pages and any future pages that I might create that are more general bullet journal scale pages, not just month to month or week to week or day to day, I'm going to maintain this theme because I really love that washi tape pattern. You'll see it when I actually lay it down. Yeah, and so I used this blocky font to do the "Don't," and I added this gray drop shadow, and then I used just a monoline script to write "Panic," and I'm also going to give it a gray drop shadow with the same Crayola Super Tip marker to tie the 2 words together even though the fonts are different. And I wanted to get through all of the introductory like explanation material while like without rushing, so the video has been going in real time, but I have now increased it to 3 times speed, so things are going super fast. And it took me much longer to do this than the video will show. I think I worked on this for almost 2 hours. I think my raw footage is like 1 hour and 40 minutes. And this is the washi tape that I was talking about. It's from the Simply Gilded September subscription box, September 2018. And I'm just pulling random bits from it and laying them down in a way that I think looks nice, kind of balanced but not symmetrical. And then I'm going to go in and add some highlighting to the "Don't" with this white Sakura Jelly Roll pen in 0.5, the 0.5 size. And I don't really do that. I don't add highlights. I'm really bad at mimicking lighting in my drawings. I kind of hate it. I'm not good at shading and shadowing, and I can't do that. But I do know how to draw drop shadows on letters, and I thought, how hard can highlights be? So I added a few on there, and I like how they came out. I don't know if I'm sure there is a better way I could have highlighted, but this is what I was able to do. I feel like I was in the middle of a thought before I started talking about the drop shadows. But moving on, I am setting up my future log, and when I was sketching out my future log, I initially had like space at the top for a header, but I ran into the problem of not wanting to write future log Like, I've never been able to letter future log in a way that I liked, and I decided that I don't have to letter it at all. So I'm not labeling this a future log anywhere on the page. I don't need to be told that it's a future log. I know what this is. And I didn't want to write the word future log. I don't know, something about the letters. I struggle with F's when I'm trying to like do any kind of calligraphy or hand lettering. And every time I've done it, it just looks ugly. So I decided not to write it at all. And the way I'm setting up this future log, I was inspired initially by Planning with Kay's one of her recent monthly logs. I don't remember which one. Or no, her latest migration video. She set up her future log with the vertical Dutch door format, and I started trying to do that, but then realized that I didn't want to. She leaves like space on the edges of the page for like decoration and to write future log. But when I decided that I wanted to completely avoid writing future log, I was like, you know what? I'll just do this in a straight 2-spread layout, 6 months on each spread, and keep it super extra simple and not bother with Dutch doors. I also didn't want to do Dutch doors so early in my bullet journal because then it would take a while before I couldn't feel like a page thickness difference between the area where I cut and the area where I didn't cut. I hate uneven pages, so I didn't want to do that. And so I laid down the theme washi tape at the top and the bottom of the page, and then I'm labeling my months with these month script stickers. They're a printable from an Etsy shop whose name I can never remember nor pronounce when I see it. So I'll have it linked down below. And then under each section under each month header, I'm making this dark blue bar across to have my days of the week. I'm just going to add in white jelly roll Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday with like the first letter of the day of the week. And this was annoying because I drew every single calendar by hand. I actually have 4 freebies from Planning with Kay's shop, and on each freebie she has 2 mini calendars that would have been the perfect size for this log. But I only had 4 of them, which meant that I only had 8. Actually, no, I think I have 5. So I had 10 little like calendars, but this is a year-long future log, so I needed 2 more. So I decided to just abandon those and write them out by hand, but I was really sad that my past self had not made one more order so that I could have enough little mini calendars to do this spread. And I'm making this future log from September 2019 through August 2020. That's because it's at the end of July, so I have a couple of weeks in here of July, and then I'm going to start August, and that's not future enough that I felt like I needed that space in my future log. So my future log will start in September, where like it's going to take me another month to actually get to my September spreads, whereas it wouldn't have taken me that long for my August spreads. So September is where I'm starting it. And this works out really well, I think, because this is how my current grad program, like the year scheduled classes, start in September. And that means that if I keep this journal for a year, and let's say next year I start another journal, I'll have the whole summer in a journal, and that's convenient because I have summer classes in the upcoming summer. And so it'll be towards the end of this notebook, I guess, but it'll all be together. I won't have to switch notebooks in like June or July or something like that. If I manage to fit everything in this journal, we'll have to see. I don't really know what to expect. I've never used a journal with this many pages, and I've never journaled so simply. I'm really cutting down on like collections and things. I found that in the past that was just too cluttered for me, and I never went back to them. And I had to flip through lots of things, and it made my journal not last as long, and then I hated moving journals as often as I did. So this is super simple. My opening pages are really just the future log and the don't panic quote, and then I jump right into like one collection, and then July, like the last 2 weeks of July, which I also set up at the end of this video. And then after that we move straight into August. So like super simple. Not a ton of collections, just planning spreads. After I get all of the numbers drawn. I am outlining each calendar with a box just for decoration. And I like how this came out. I am using for all my black lining the Sakura Pigma Micron fine liners. I have a set of 6 that I got from Amazon last year. And it comes with several sizes. I think for the date numbers I used the 02, and for the outlining of the calendar I used the 03. And then for the quote on the first page I used the 08. I actually really like the 08. It's like the thickest one. And I love how bold it is, so I use that more often in the future. So also inspired by Planning with Kay's latest migration video, I am adding these like checklist boxes underneath each month to mark the events and tasks, but I'm actually splitting things up into 2 categories. And what she did in her video was that she had a label straight across the whole spread with like events and tasks, something like YouTube ideas and sticker ideas or something like that, and those were her labels. I didn't like the idea of something like going across the whole page, and I didn't want to do like 3 individual labels. So what I've done instead is I've implemented a like subtle color code where the top half is in a bluish gray, and those boxes are for personal tasks, events, and holidays. So things that go in here are family birthdays, holidays like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, my boyfriend and our month anniversaries and anniversaries, when rent is due. Those are the things that I put in the top part. And then in the bottom part, I am using this light gray for work and school events and tasks. And right now this is super blank because I don't have a job and classes have not started. But right now I have, for example, on September, I have that on the 2nd classes begin. And then when classes actually start and I have some syllabi, I'll put in important test dates, exam things, maybe big project deadlines. When I have a job, depending on where it is, what it is, I will add other events and things like that. If there's a school that I start to substitute at regularly and I know that they have certain events coming up, I might add those. Things like that. Yeah. Other things in here. Oh, I recently had to get renter's insurance. We've never had renter's insurance before, and it's charged annually. So in here I'll also be putting on the personal section like when renter's insurance is set to renew and when like that's coming up. Things like that are all things that I would put in this spread. Okay, so if you thought that took a long time, it took me 3 times as long to do in real life and at real speed, and it took forever. But I really like how it came out, and I think that it was worth it, especially if I do manage to keep this bullet journal longer than usual. If it lasts me longer than like 3 months, then that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with having put all that work into the future log. And now we're moving on to the only collection that I actually put together, and this is a swatch page for my Crayola Super Tips. I have the 50 pack, and I decided that the way I wanted to display them was to have these little squares, and each square is 2 by 2, and doing that, they're also separated by 2 squares, so it's like 2 by 2 square where I'll have my swatch, skip 2 squares, another 2 by 2 square, and so on. And I'm outlining them with the size 8 Sakura fine liner, and then I am going to be numbering these squares. So the way that I have my Crayola Super Tips cataloged right now is that when I got them, I left them in like the order that came in the box, and then I numbered them with a Sharpie on the caps, and so every cap has a number on it. And that worked for a while, but then I noticed that the Sharpie was actually rubbing off, especially on the markers that I used more frequently. So then I had to like rewrite all the numbers, and then to preserve them I actually have a small piece of clear tape on top so that they won't just rub away. And now every single one of my markers has a number assigned to it. And so on this swatch page, I'm going to number my squares from 1 to 50, and then just color in the square with the corresponding marker, and that way I know which marker leads to which color. Especially since the Crayola Super Tips are a little misleading, the caps do not always accurately represent the color that it actually looks like when you write with it. And then the paper of the bullet journal is actually slightly yellow, it's not a pure white paper, and that also affects the color that comes out. And I really wanted to be able to see all of my super tip colors all at once, because I wanted to make sure that I could match it to certain things. So like when I was choosing my accent colors for the future log, I was working with the Galaxy tape, and I actually had to swatch out on a scratch sheet of paper like the colors that I wanted, and then put the tape close by and see how they actually compared. But with a spread like this, I could just bring the tape nearby and look and say, oh, 27 actually looks pretty close, so I'll just use 27. And then I just have to find 27 in my collection of cups, and there you go, easy matching. And yeah, so I thought this spread would be super useful. I actually don't know that I've ever had a spread like this in my bullet journals. I've had a few swatch spreads, but I don't think I've swatched my super tips. I also have a collection of gel pens, and I want to swatch those sometime too. There are a lot of them. It will take me a very long time to catalog them, but they're also super cheap, so some of them don't actually write. And someday I'll catalog those so that I can also bring them in. But for now I use my super tips, and they're good. I especially like the super tips because they're super cheap. I have this 50 pack and I think I paid $6 for them. Someday I want to upgrade and get the 100 pack, but for now these 50 work very well. They're also good for calligraphy. You can do a kind of brush lettering with them just by crushing the tip a little when you do a downstroke, and I really like them. I learned about like all the things you can do with these from Planning with Kay's YouTube channel. She uses super tips a lot, and because my own work is largely influenced by her stuff, I wanted to have like the same kinds of colors, so that if I wanted to match anything to like her stickers, I knew that I would have a color at least relatively close to what she would use, because she matches her stickers a lot of the times to super tips, because she also uses the super tips a lot. I also have a set of one set of Tombow markers, but they're not worth swatching because I only have 10 of them and they're not hard to match. The only other markers I can see myself using semi-frequently are the Crayola brush markers, but those also aren't super hard to match, and I don't have as many of those either. It's really these super tips where 50 colors are a little too hard to remember, and like to remember what each color actually looks like, and then it's enough that I wanted to have a catalog and a swatch page. They're also variant enough in color that I feel like I'll be using these the most often, and so because of their frequent use and like how hard it is to match the colors, I really wanted a swatch page for these markers. It was also really fun to color in the squares once I had everything set up, because it helped verify whether I actually had all 50 markers. When I first tried to find every marker, I could only find 46 of them. Then I remembered that I used to keep a couple in a pencil bag that I took with me to school, so I was able to find 2 more. And then that's as many as I had when I started this spread. I started this setup thinking, okay, I only have 48 markers. That's a bummer, but this way, with this spread, I'll be able to see which colors roughly I'm missing, like if I'm missing an orange or a blue. And then in the future, I can hopefully get like another pack of 50 and then just fill those in and then have some spare markers in case any dry out. I think I'm definitely going to do that anyway. The next time I go somewhere, like the next time I have some extra money and I go to Walmart, I'll probably buy the 100 pack, I think, in the next couple of months, just because I like the idea of having like all the colors. But I was going to do that. That was my plan. However, while I was filling in this spread, I was really sad to see 2 blank squares, and I dug even harder through my drawers and my workspace, and I hunted down the last 2 markers. And I was so excited because that meant that I had all 50 colors, and I was really proud of myself because I lose things a lot. I have never been able to keep up with markers. Like as a child, when I did a lot of coloring and stuff, my parents would buy me markers, and then like within a week I had lost like many of them, and it was crazy. I could not keep up with basic markers and pens, but I have gotten much better at it, especially since planning has made me quite obsessed with them. And so that means that I actually have all 50, and I'm really proud of that because I got these marker set like over a year ago, I think. And so even though I haven't used them like a super ton since then, and that lack of use might explain why they're all still here, still I have used them enough that I could have, there was like plenty of opportunity for me to lose them. I did lose them for a little bit, but I was able to find them all, and it's super satisfying to have my color chart all filled in and to see that there are indeed 50 colors, and I know where all of them are now. I have them split between 2 cups that I got from Walmart in a pack of like 4 cups for 88 cents. Super cheap cups just meant to hold my markers, and they're not even displayed on my desk, so like no one sees these cups. They didn't have to be pretty. When we move, I think I will actually put them up on my desk just for easy access, but for now they're in some cups and I really enjoy them. Now at the end of this video, I am setting up the little bit that I'm doing for July. Since there are only 2 weeks in July, I'm not doing a full monthly setup, but I wanted to have July in here because I didn't want to wait 2 weeks to start using my bullet journal. As it is, this week has been hard because I didn't set up any of my planners for this week because I knew I wanted to move into a bullet journal, and I just didn't want to keep messing with them. So I've just been kind of floundering a little bit because I don't have a planner that has like all the stuff I need in it right now, and I wanted to be able to use my bullet journal as soon as possible. And so that meant that I needed to set up something for July. And so I'm using these stickers from Planning with Kay's $500 goal sheet. I supported her on Patreon for a few months last year, and during like when she first launched her Patreon, I was someone that pledged, and if you were someone that pledged and then when she reached $500 a month, she sent out all of her current patrons a sticker sheet. And so I got that sticker sheet, and then when I stopped bullet journaling in like October, I think, I stopped subscribing to her Patreon because it was not relevant to me anymore. Like her content was good and like amazing, and I loved her work, but it also wasn't like I couldn't afford to just pay it when I wasn't actually using it, you know, like I wasn't following her videos to use the information from it. I didn't bullet journal. So I canceled that for a while, but I actually just recently resubscribed or re-pledged, I don't know what it's called on Patreon, because I'm bullet journaling again, and I really do love her videos, and she's my favorite bullet journalist. Is that a word? I don't know. But she's my favorite person to follow on YouTube and Instagram for bullet journal inspiration, and so I have re-pledged to her Patreon, and I'm super excited because she just has a lot of good ideas, and like she does videos with her patrons for like weekly spreads and things like that, and I want to see those things so that I can get some ideas. And yeah, so my August setup is actually using a sticker set from her, and you'll see that next week, I believe. Yeah. So here I'm setting up 2 pages to hold my memory notes. Right now, or in the past, I have kept notes on what happens every day to use in my memory spreads in the like original KKK planning sheets, but I am hating having those somewhere else. I forget to update them because they're in a planner I don't actually look in. So I've decided to move those spreads into my bullet journal. And that's what those are, is that they're just there to write a few notes every day about what I did and what happened and maybe how I was feeling, so that I could reference them later when I do my memory spreads in my Erin Condren. And I think that's going to work super well because this bullet journal is basically replacing my Hobonichi. I'm still keeping my Erin Condren teacher planner because I want to have like a big spaceful view of a week, but I also want to have something small and that I can carry around with me and that is super customizable, like the Hobonichi, but now the bullet journal, because I miss this paper and I missed having like even more flexibility than the Hobonichi offers. And the Hobonichi is a pretty flexible planner, but this is more flexible. And so yeah, that's why I decided to switch to the bullet journal. And that means that I'm going to be carrying it around with me. This is my on-the-go planner now, and it's better for me to keep my memory notes in something that I have with me, so that as things happen that I know that I want to like record in my memory planner, I can write them down here. But I am setting up the first weekly in here, and I'm setting it up kind of in a mimicry of the Hobonichi because I like this layout. I like this dashboard week at a glance type of layout, and I want to keep that in here. So I have a days of the week to mark important things for each particular day, then just that big old block on the right for a running to-do list, a habit tracker on the bottom, and then the left or the right hand page is where I will start dailies, which will just involve some lists right now. Okay, and now we're gonna finish this video up at 1x speed so that we can give a flip through, because this is my weekly setup. This is the setup that I use for the next 2 weeks and just the last 2 weeks of July. And now we're gonna see what I did. So these are just the opening pages of Daily Term. You have the index pages there. My opening quote of Don't Panic, one of my favorite pieces of art I've ever done. I just love how that looks. Followed by my 2 spreads of future log pages, my Crayola Super Tips swatch page, my July setup with my memory notes, and my weekly layout. And that's it. That's everything. In the next video, I will be setting up my August monthly, and you will see that next week. Thanks for watching. Bye! I gotta start over.